Thanks for joining us. This is our extended interview with Jordan Couch, partner at Palace Law in Tacoma, Washington. He's also the cultural ambassador there. The first part of the video is from our GNGF Live, which happens every other Wednesday. The second part here is the bonus extended interview where we dive into the how-to on encouraging and reinforcing the culture in your firm. Also, we talk about how law firm culture is not just an internal thing, but extends and benefits your clients. If you already saw the live, I'll put the timestamp to the exclusive extended interview below. Be sure to hit that like button to help us in the YouTube algorithm and subscribe to follow along with all of our great conversations on legal marketing and the business side of running a law firm. And to watch this video on the platform of your choice, you can find everywhere we stream at gngf.tv. Welcome to GNGF Live, your bi-weekly Ask the Experts about all things law firm marketing and business growth. I'm Mark Homer, author of Online Law Practice Strategies and founder of Get Noticed, Get Found. We focus a lot around the business side of growing and running your law firm on GNGF Live. And one of the hot topics for business strategy these days is building a great company culture. Therefore, I'm excited to have today's guest, Jordan Couch, an attorney at Palace Law in Washington State. Besides being a great lawyer and all-around nice guy, he's the appointed cultural ambassador at Palace Law. What does that mean? Stay tuned to find out. As always, be sure to like and subscribe our page and not just the video so you can get updated when our next episode goes live. Of course, it never hurts for you to be a good friend of the show and high five or elbow bump the like button on the video real quick to help us with those YouTube and Facebook algorithms. We've got moderators in the chat, so please ask questions and interact while the show's live. If you're watching this in the future, though, after we're live, we do monitor comments on Facebook, YouTube, and LinkedIn, and we'll work to reach out to our guests and answer any follow-up questions you have. On weeks when we're not streaming interviews, we drop a video as part of our GNGF Tips series. These are in-depth videos focusing on one topic at a time. Check it out on our YouTube page. And Joe, if you have a link, you can maybe throw like our latest video in there. That'd be great. Check them out. Like I said, we drop a new GNGF Tips video every other Friday. All right, let's get to the interview. Jordan, thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Well, so I wanted to have you on our Facebook Live because I saw a presentation you gave at the Clio conference on law firm culture. And I think it's fascinating because a lot of law firms think that, well, that's the culture stuff doesn't matter for me because I'm a law firm and it's a little different, right? And you had a title as the cultural ambassador for Palace Law, right? So tell me, what does it mean to be your law firm's cultural ambassador?
So it's a few things. This job came up when our firm was doing a little revamping about 4 years ago now. Part of that was really putting some effort into defining our culture and our values as a firm and our mission. And as part of that, the management team decided we really should have someone in the office who represents our culture and whose job it is to kind of promote the culture within the firm and outside of the firm and to really kind of make sure this is part of our daily lives. And so that job got assigned to me as someone who they thought represented the culture really well. And so in the kind of day-to-day, it means a lot of different things. The most commonly thought about thing and talked about thing is that every time we interview someone to come into the office, they have an entirely separate interview with me, where I do not ask them about their qualifications. I don't give a shit. I do not ask about their experience, nothing like that. We don't get into that. I don't look at resumes even. What I do is we talk about my firm's culture, about their values, about their culture, and we kind of give them an opportunity to get to know who we are and for us to get to know who they are on a cultural basis to see if they are a cultural fit for our office and to help them decide if they want to work there, because we don't want people to come into our office, hate our culture, and then leave 6 weeks later. And I always tell people in that interview that it's just as important for them to ask me questions as it is for me to ask them questions. And so that's a big job because a lot of times, honestly, we've made hiring decisions not based on qualifications, but based entirely on that cultural interview. Outside of that, a lot of what I do is doing a lot of culture promoting within the office, trying to keep it something that people are mindful of on a daily basis. So, if people are having ideas that they want to pitch to the management team, I tell them to express it in terms of our values in our office and to think about that. I teach people how to use our value when it comes to dealing with clients, things like that. So it's a lot of making sure ththings are top of mind, making sure we're focused on it, and also preaching about our firm culture out there in the world like you've seen me do.
That's great. Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating some of the stuff you did, and I hope we get into it. And if we don't, I'll make sure I want to bring a few things up. But so being the culture ambassador, it's interesting you talk about the interview process and making sure that that's a mesh there, because just like in marketing, we often talk about it's like, really talking directly to your target market. You want to repel the wrong type of clients just as much as you want to attract the right type of clients. It's very similar, I think, in hiring, right? You want to make sure somebody, leaves and kind of goes, yeah, that's not the fit for me. Not that they think you're a bad firm or anything, just they go, that doesn't fit the way I want to come to work every day. That's as important as like attracting somebody too, right?
Yeah, there was a great example of that. And I have two questions I ask everyone who comes into our office during part of that interview. And the first one is I have them look at our core values because they're pasted up on our walls all over the place. And I say, which of these is most important to you and why? And everyone loves that question. Everyone gives good answers to that. And then I ask, which of these is least important to you and why? And I always preface that to not be too mean to say, I will tell you my own. So you're not going to be alone in this, but I tell you that. And I will tell you there are no wrong answers to that question. But what I do get is a lot of people that say, oh, I don't really know about that. I don't think I can pick one. To which I have to say, like, come on, really? One of our values is being trustworthy, and you're telling me that. So, but one thing, you talk about getting the wrong people out. One of the best experiences we had during this process was we had two people who we did more extensive interviews with than we had done with anyone in the past. They came into the office, they tried out the job for a while, they really got to know our culture. And both of these people decided on their own, knew enough about our culture to decide not to take the job.
So right at the end there, what do we do wrong? What do we do right? Could you repeat that part for me?
Yeah, so the initial question was, what did we do wrong since these people didn't choose to work with us? Right. But eventually I, made the pitch that, what did we do right? Because these people knew us well enough to decide this was not the right place for them. And that's a good thing, not a bad thing. Even if we wanted them to work for us, they knew that it wasn't the place for them. And that's the best decision rather than them leaving 6 months later after we've trained them.
Right. Because it's a big cost of that. So you guys decided to focus on your law firm culture. You talked about some of the hiring things. You are the culture ambassador and actually have duties in your office for this, right? Why do you think it's important? And now that especially now that you've gone through it, I would even like you to kind of say, why do you think it's important for other law firms? Because I assume you do, because you gave a whole presentation on it. But, why is it important to define your law firm's culture?
There are, let's see if I can remember the numbers on this right now. There are 25,000 active practicing attorneys in the state of Washington alone. And if you look at breakdowns of that, there are over 100 aviation attorneys in Washington, people who specialize in aviation. There are over 100 sports attorneys in Washington. And I give these statistics to tell you that, the thing I think a lot of attorneys don't realize is that no matter what your practice area is, niches are great, but no matter what your niche is, your firm is not special. Mm-hmm. Your practice area is not special. The work you do is not special, and you are not a better attorney than every other attorney out there practicing in your area. But you are special. Your culture is special. That's what makes your firm what it is. So what I tell people is your culture is really the only way you can distinguish yourself as a firm. It's the only way you can build a happy work environment for your people. And it's the only way you can bring in the right clients is if you've identified your firm culture and know who you are, and you can distinguish yourself in that way. It's honestly the only way you can really distinguish yourself as a firm. Your skills, your practice area will never distinguish you from other attorneys.
Right. I mean, like people all the time, they talk about your niche and everything, and I'm like, a practice area is not a niche, right? I mean, like it's almost like you're still vanilla ice cream, as a DUI attorney, there's still a lot of them there, right? But how do you become like the craft ice cream, in your particular area? So that the culture is fascinating because I do believe that, and I'll be, totally transparent here. We're really big on culture as well, right? So like, and making sure everybody knows our culture and I assume we'll get to it, but you want clients as well, right? So it's everybody needs to know. It's not just employees, but everybody needs to know that they fit, and why you do what you do. So big fan of that. But like I just see a lot of law firms kind of read a lot of these culture type things and other books and things and kind of say it's just not for me. So it's good that you're kind of like approaching it from look, you're not special as just a practicing lawyer in this practice area, but you're special in the way you approach your cases, the way you approach your clients, the way you work with your team. And that team part, I like in your presentation is really interesting, right? Because like the way you approach your team actually impacts all the delivery to your clients, right? So
yeah, absolutely. And I'd say, the bottom line is if you have a team or even if you're a solo practitioner, you have a culture. The question is whether you're being intentional about it or being passive about it.
Yep.
And
Yep.
I think no attorney, when they put it that way, wants to be passive about it, right? So one thing I really like is that, they talk about you can train people for any job, but you can't train someone for culture.
Right.
And so bottom line is, if you bring the right people in for your culture, that does spread out there in the world. That, people are excited about where they work. People want to promote what you do. People then deliver better services to clients because they're happy about what they do, and they're proud of where they work. That makes a big difference when you talk about external facing things. The lawyers who say they don't need marketing because they do everything referral based. Nothing builds referrals better than having a team that really loves what they do and are passionate about their work, because that shows. Clients feel that kind of thing.
Yeah, we do a lot of brand work, right? And so it's when you come across a law firm that has thought about these things, like brand and culture are really intertwined, right? Like the brand because brand at the end of the day is the perception of your law firm, in the consumer or prospective client's eyes, right? And the culture is what provides, well, assuming should provide. And I say the same thing about brand, right? Like you have a brand whether you're intentional or not. You have a culture whether you're intentional or not. Like these things are very intertwined. So that's awesome. Well, if somebody like listens to that and kind of goes, yes, I need a law firm culture, like what do I want to be intentional about it. How do you, you guys went through this about 4 years ago, and what lessons learned, what would you do different next time kind of thing. So what are your best practices if somebody wants to go figure out what is our law firm culture?
So first step is, it's not easy. I'm going to tell you that right now. It takes actual time, intentional time. I can give you, some tricks to get started, but the bottom line is you're going to have to put effort into it. And in fact, going back, the one thing I think we do differently is solicit feedback from more people earlier on in the process. Because I really think that the more people you have giving input who know your firm, just like knowing your branding, the better off you're going to be. So when we started it, I tell people to start with 2 questions. Number 1 is, why does your law firm exist? If you answer that question, you start to have an idea of what the mission of your firm is. Because your mission is why you exist, right? It's why you're doing DUI law instead of doing something else. It's what made you build this firm. And then the next question I ask is, why should I hire you instead of someone else? And if the answer is, I went to Harvard, you're wrong. If the answer is because I'm a better attorney than everyone else or than most of the people out there, there's a 50% chance you're dead wrong about that, right? Just based on statistics. But really think about, what are you going to bring to the table that someone else might not bring to the table? Or what type of person are you that, a client will get along with and like? Those are the things. So when you start answering those 2 questions, you're going to find that your mission and your values, which combine kind of create your culture, start coming out of those questions. And when you do that, don't just do it for yourself. Start there, put a bunch of ideas up on a whiteboard, or, put them in a notebook, whatever just comes to your mind, let it out there, and then ask other people, right? Ask everyone on your team, why did you want to work here instead of somewhere else? What do you think our mission is? Why do you come here? What is your reason for doing the work that you do? And through that, you're going to get a lot of ideas. The more ideas in that early stage, the better, because the reality is a lot of people, especially if they do it by themselves, want to be very prescriptive about their culture and their firm. Mm-hmm. And that will never work. You cannot prescribe culture. You can identify culture, you can accent things you like and try to decrease things you don't like, but you cannot prescribe culture to people. It's who they are. Values are inherent in people. And so if you do it yourself, there's a good tendency to say, well, this is what I want my firm to be, therefore my mission is this and my values are this.
To the aspirational values, yeah, like that, yeah.
And it will be wrong. But if you ask a lot of people, you're going to start to hear things you didn't expect, maybe didn't think, maybe that you don't like. But those are truly what your culture and your values are, right? Because the more opinions you get, the better off it is. And once you've done that, put everything up on the board, the good, bad, neutral, whatever. Take a look at that and decide for yourself, okay, what do I think is truest? What do I think I can maybe disregard, but don't, have a teammate on that with you as well. So it's not someone, even ask a client. Clients are great help with this kind of stuff. And then start thinking about, what are the things that I really want to be our values, that I want to accent? Because you can choose things that are descriptive and then accent those to bring them out a little bit more. So start, narrowing it down and thinking, what do I really want to accent? And try not to go too broad. People can get really, really broad with their values. Everything is not your value. My firm has 8. We had 7 initially, but then a lot of our team came up with another one that they thought was really important to them and that we accented well. And so we now are up to 8. That is about
which is a lot.
Yeah, eight
That's a
is as
lot.
high as I would suggest anyone get. Really, start simple. What is your mission? What are your values? As limited as you can be, and try to force yourself to be more limited than you're comfortable with. And then you can expand out a little bit if you find out that, like, oh, my team is saying this is really important to all of them, even if I didn't think it was that important, right? So, and be willing to adjust, and also be willing to go back to it. Culture changes as you hire new people, as you grow, as you shrink, as things come up. So go back to it. Our firm, we do it at least once every year. We go back and kind of start over and say, each one of these things individually, is this our mission still, or should we adjust our mission? And we do adjust it a little bit every time. Not every time, some years. We did this year. Look at our values. Should these be adjusted, or are these still our values? And it's important to have that being an ongoing, recurring process, because things change. Your team changes, hopefully for the better, but it's just a neutral thing. It just changes. It's a fact of life.
Yeah, I'm glad to hear you say that, because it's not like we found, like we had our values. These are going to be, this is the value. This is what GNGF stands for and everything, right? And then just like over a course of meetings and our yearly strategy meetings and stuff, it's like we'd always do the same thing. We'd go through, like, are these still good? And there was always just something missing. And we ended up adding one recently too, right? It was like I think we had 5, now we have 6, but it's like, okay, yeah, I mean, like, I don't know, maybe that wasn't even a thing we thought about 4 years ago or 5 years ago when we created these, but now, like, it's a really core, important part. We actually did some employee surveys, and if you don't, if you're solo or small, you may not have as much of a team, but we did employee surveys, and the same word kept coming back, and none of those that word wasn't in our values, right? We're like, there's an idea there. But like, same thing goes with reviews, right? You could read a whole bunch of your customer reviews and when they exit interviews and that kind of stuff. And there's certain words that'll come out, and there's another way to kind of see values, because I always tell law firms that have gone through this process, it's like, go back now, look at your reviews now from like where they were 4 years ago, and you'll start seeing some of those words, because you are being, like you said, like, more intentional about it.
Yeah, and not just client reviews. I really encourage people to go to their clients and ask them for their help and their feedback. A lot of people are really afraid to talk to their clients for some reason about these things, or to let their clients see, how the sausage is made at all. We do that a lot in our office. We, trustworthy is one of our core values. We believe in being open with our clients. So if we have ideas, we get their feedback on it and just ask them, and they love it. And if they don't love it, it's because they have a problem with our firm, and we identify that by asking them and then address that issue, right? Like, the only way that it's bad to ask them for feedback is if you have problems already existing in your client base that you need to solve. And for the most part, clients love to be part of it, like to feel like they're involved in this process, because especially legal issues, clients hand off the most important thing in their life to you. And oftentimes lawyers like to just take that and then run with it on their own.
Right.
Involved clients feel, even if it's just in how your firm works, or if they know that you care about their opinions, they like that a lot, because then they feel more involved.
So I'm going to ask you, because you cut out just a little bit on that last point, and it's a really important part. So we talked about how asking clients, if they have some issues, like maybe don't, but like, clients like to be involved in this process. Can you talk about that again? Because you cut out a little bit, and some of the points were really, really good.
Yeah, so clients, want to be involved because they're giving up the most important thing in their life to you.
Right.
And if you take that and just kind of do your work,
That we're cutting out again, Jordan.
Clients feel left out, and oftentimes, right. If you involve them, even in just kind of simple things, to make sure that they, know what's going on in your firm on a regular basis, they like that. They feel involved that way, and they feel more to do to your firm and to your case.
Right. So I want to make sure we talk about this. Tell me about your actual law firm, Palace Law. Tell me about the actual, values of your firm, because we've talked about it, but like, what are your values?
So Palace Law does workers' compensation and personal injury plaintiff side work. So our mission is to help the injured in every community. That's what we're striving towards. We obviously are in Washington right now, but we're hoping to do, really help the injured in every community as much as we can. Our values are to be creative, innovative, and adaptable, to be trustworthy. I've mentioned that a couple times. To do the right thing, to be team players. We all work on various teams throughout the office and work on teams with our clients. To be relentless, persistent, and self-motivated. To do what we love. To be real people, to be diverse, unique, and authentic. and to live well. Those are our 8 core values, and those are the things that we really are important to us. And living well is actually the one that was added later on, because a lot of our team said, we are big on work-life fit in our office. We're big on like having healthy attitudes, healthy mindsets. So we added that one later on.
All right. So I have 2 more questions, but I think we're running out of time on our Facebook Live here. We probably are going over a little bit, but if you don't mind sticking around, we can keep talking, and I could post that on our YouTube channel on Friday.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay. So stick with me 1 second, Jordan. But before we wrap up, where can people connect with you or find you online, or if they have questions about this stuff?
Yeah, you can find me on pretty much any social media. I am at Jordan L. Couch, and you can also email me at jordan@palacelaw.com.
Including TikTok?
Including TikTok, actually.
I saw that. That's right. I saw that in social medias the other day. I'm like, Jordan's on TikTok. That's great. Okay, so bear with me 1 second, and we'll catch up here. And I want to dive into, really I want to know, how do you reinforce the culture? And then I want to understand kind of your culture and your clients a little more. And I think that's stuff, really kind of get into the nitty gritty of the how-to is really important. So awesome. So thanks for joining us, everyone. Today's been great learning about law firm culture. Be sure to like and subscribe our page, our videos, everything, just to help out that YouTube and Facebook algorithm. We're going to keep on going here in the GNGF studios. And so on Friday, we'll drop the extended interview on our YouTube channel. So look for that. Thanks. Have a great day. All right, thanks for sticking with us, Jordan. So I wanted to know, because you talked a little bit about some of the things you're doing. One of your roles is making sure that, as culture ambassador, you're helping be intentional about the culture at your firm. What are some of the things that you do to encourage your culture in the firm? And I will admit that I got to be a fly on the wall. We came in to meet with your firm and talk about some of the marketing strategies we were working on. And it happened to be one of your culture days or something like that. And that was a lot of fun to be a fly on the wall and learn a lot. But for the benefit of those who didn't see that, and then all the other things you do that I haven't seen, what are you doing to encourage culture within the firm?
Yeah, so you saw one of the most exciting things we do. I always suggest that, for culture to be your real culture, for your values to be your values, they have to be incentivized, right? There are a lot of firms that say these are our values. And when it comes time for annual reviews or bonuses, all they talk about is billable hours. If that's the case, then money is your value, and that's okay, but that's the way it is, right? Like if that's what you incentivize, if that's what you track, money is the value. So you were lucky enough to be one of my favorite things we do, which is every year with 8 values, we start a cycle at some point of 8 months where each month focuses on a core value. And what that means is at the beginning of the month, we all gather together and we talk about that core value. And we, talk about what it means, talk about why it's important to us and why it's important to our clients. And then we send everyone off with that thought and tell people to nominate their peers for stories that they see during that month of their peers exhibiting that value well. And so we collect a bunch of responses of people saying like, hey, my coworker did this, it's amazing, this person should get the award because of this. Like Christy did the right thing the other day doing this. Julie was a great team player doing this, right? And then at the end of that month, we gather together, we talk about the value again, and we read a bunch of those nominations that came out to everyone. Mm-hmm. And then we award someone with a little prize that they get based on exhibiting that value, whichever the story we thought was best and most exhibited that value, or sometimes the person who got the most nominations for that value. And we give them a prize, and everyone, we all gather together, which is kind of fun. It's everyone gets to be part of it. They get their photo taken with the big poster we have on the wall exhibiting that value. It gets put up online so all of our clients see it, all the social media, things like that. And so that's one of the biggest things we do. But there are a lot of little things that happen as well. Like I talked about incentivizing. During our annual reviews, an entire part of the annual review is going over our 8 core values and mm-hmm. giving people scores on how they're exhibiting those values and talking to them about ways they can, work on building up this other one, or encouraging them on the ones they're doing really well to keep doing that, right? We make that part of annual reviews in our office. I also, on the smaller side of things, getting really small, we use Slack for internal office communication. I created emojis for every single one of our core values in Slack so that people can use those and react to people. If someone says something, you can add a little live well emoji to that if you see a picture of them running on Slack, right? It's dumb little things like that that make it part of the everyday culture in the office when people have that opportunity, and it's kind of fun and silly and fun and silliness are a big important things to get things actually adopted for people, right? If it's always serious all the time, it's a little harder to adopt.
Right. We just to let you know, I saw that Slack thing in the presentation. So we've got like, the big decals on our wall with the values and stuff, but they're nice and a cool graphic we've created. But I'm like, well, that's genius. Like, so we created our little Slack emojis, and they get thrown around and stuff like that. And I think I saw our social media person putting them out a little bit on our Twitter channel and stuff for GNGF, and so that was great. I mean, but we've seen people like kind of reward people, so say, hey, great job on this, good job with showing grit, and get the grit emoji and stuff, and it was great.
One of my favorite things to see actually is that some of our people, when you can have a status on your Slack profile, a lot of people will put the status emoji as one of the core values, which I just love to see, because it's someone saying like either this is my favorite core value or I'm feeling this one today, and that always feels really nice to see.
That's cool.
People really adopting it and thinking about it. And also a big part of it, and I'll tell you, getting the internal, making it part of daily life is one of the hardest things to do, because daily life you have normal work to do, right? But one thing I do is just constantly reminding people how important it is. So whenever someone does come to me with an idea, or someone's thinking about, a project or something in the office or something to do for a client, I tell people, if you're going to pitch it, put it in terms of core values. Don't just say, hey, I need a new keyboard, although that's an easy thing and we'll do it. Say, hey, my keyboard sucks and it's preventing me from loving what I'm doing. Done, right? Like these little things that just make it part of people's everyday lives to help them internalize it and think about it on a regular basis is really important. And we also do surveys to ask people how they're feeling about these things too, to make sure that, all of us are kind of thinking about it and feeling it on a regular basis. And so a lot of it's just about communicating. And, I think there's a critical mass where if you get everyone communicating about it all the time and remind people, eventually they just start doing it. And we've talked about the posters before. It helps to have big posters up all over the walls in every room in the office so people can see the core values from pretty much wherever they are.
Yeah, we have stairwells going up on both sides of our office to every floor, and like the whole stairwells now have like decals going all the way up, and so you can't go up and in and out of the office without walking by, and it's kind of neat, right? It's like as you walk in the office, like here, remember these are our values, but also as you leave the office, take this with you, right? And it's such a, to me, like a cool way to kind of think about it. So like you've got incorporating them in your reviews. You've had like special days of the month to reward and celebrate and remind. Small things like the emojis and status updates. Getting feedback from people. I mean, that's a lot of things, but that's kind of what it takes, right? It's just constant reminders, top of mind awareness of the core values. So I want to spin that now to continue into. That's all very internal. But how do you think your core values, your culture, is it just an internal thing, or are your clients becoming a part of this? Are they a part of it? Does it impact your clients?
Yeah, clients have to be a part of it. And that's one of the most useful things about culture, I think, that often gets overlooked. People talk about cultural internally a lot, but culture is external as well, right? Like you talk about branding, those two things are wrapped up really well together. And so I'd honestly say one of the best ways to get culture internalized is have people on the team externalizing it on a regular basis. So all of our marketing, a lot of it comes down to culture stuff, right? We do a lot of culture-based marketing. And one of my favorite stories ever comes from this is every year, every time we nominate someone and award someone for the core value of the month, we put that up all over all of our social media to promote that person, right? Which the team loves, but also the clients love. And my favorite story of this comes from Steve Powell, is one of the attorneys in our office, and he won the Trustworthy Award one month. And we put that up on social media. And one of his clients was so happy about that and thought Steve was so deserving of that award that this client wrote this long post on our Facebook page about how much Steve deserved this award. And one of Steve's other clients, and this is all public, right, so other people can see it, one of Steve's other clients saw that and thought, oh my gosh, that's so cool. I agree too, but I have to one-up this. So I'm going to write a poem about how amazing Steve is on Palace Law's Facebook page. And I know, like, I tell that story and it's like, it doesn't get better than that. Except that it does. Because Steve's other clients saw this poem, and the next thing we knew, we had a poem competition of Steve's clients writing poems about how amazing Steve Pyle is. And to be clear, this is workers' compensation clients. These are like grizzled old truck drivers in their 50s writing poems about how amazing Steve Pyle is.
That's great.
And all for a 5-minute post we put on social media. So there's a lot of that, like, externalizing it in your marketing helps people think about it, because now people think of Steven trustworthy all the time, and clients know Steve as that trustworthy guy, right? But it's also really important for establishing relationships and making sure you're getting the clients that you want, because what you offer and your values is going to determine whether, just like it determines whether a person's a good fit to work with you, it determines whether a client is a good fit to work with you. And so we have it up in our lobby. All of our core values are up in our lobby, and all of our core values are up in our main conference room where we meet with clients most often. And so every client that comes into our office knows what our core values are. And every potential client that comes into our office, hopefully they've seen our core values in our marketing, but they're going to see it on the walls. And in our intake meeting, in our initial intake meeting, when we decide if they want to work with us or not, and if we want to work with them or not, I set aside time to just go over our core values. And I emphasize to them, I emphasize to them what they are, talk to them about that. I also talk to them about what's not on there, right? I mentioned one of our core values is to be relentless, persistent, and self-motivated. And if I have a client who's talking to me about, being angry, wanting to fight, all these things, wanting to attack these people, I will stop them and I will say, look, you see my core values. Fighting, aggressive, attacking, these are not on there. I am relentless, I am persistent, I am self-motivated. I will promise you to be relentless and persistent, but I absolutely will not be aggressive. That is not who I am. I don't think that's productive. And if you want that, I can refer you to people who will do that, but I'm not going to do that. And I have had clients who want that and who'd say, I don't want to work with this anymore. More often what I have is clients say, okay, relentless and persistent, that works for me. Mm-hmm. And we get along. And I had a client who really was doing that, and I told him that. And then about 2 months later, he came back to me and he said he wanted to talk to me about a few things. So I set up a meeting with him. And he talked about that and said, well, I feel like you're not being aggressive enough. And I said, well, I'm not aggressive. And I told you that. We talked about this. And he says, yeah, you're right. And we talked about that a little bit. And he also said, he had looked at my social media, my personal social media, which is all public, and said he didn't totally approve of the things I was on there. Not the things that I was doing, but that I was putting them on social media. He didn't feel was professional. And I, of course, said, first, the most important thing to say in these situations is, tell me more about that. Right? And he told me more about that, and I let him talk until he had nothing else to say. And I said, so thank you for sharing. But I also told you one of my core values is to be my unique, authentic, real self. And this is who I am. I do not put up a professional face for you because you're trusting me with the most important things in your life. I want you to know who I really am, not who I put on a professional face for, because this is me. And if you have a problem with the things that I'm doing, really, that's okay. But if you have a problem just with that they're being shown out there, well, that's who I am.
Right.
And he and I got along great after that because we talked about it and we're open about it, and because I'd said it in the beginning. So what I tell people,
I've heard you talk about, Jordan, the similar, because I think these things I think are so cool, and people don't think about it, but having those conversations about your values, gets it's not this, it's here's how I approach the case, right? And one of the things I think, I don't remember if it was a conversation we had or maybe it was in your presentation, but it was something about people who have expectation of, I want to communication super fast and get back to me right away, and that's not in your core values. It's not like we're going to get back to you within 15 minutes. It's here's and talk about that, because that was a neat example you gave once.
Yeah, so that it all comes back to that conversation and really empowering your clients during that conversation, and being upfront about this. And I think the most important part about it is, like you said, empower them to kind of talk to you about this stuff, because what I do is as I go over this, is I tell people, please hold me accountable to these things. I expect you, if you feel like I'm not doing any of these things, to come to me and tell me, and I will be okay with that. The question I will ask is, please tell me more about that. Such a great question. And so I had a client who came to me and he had fired his previous attorney. Red flag number 1. He had fired his previous attorney twice. Red flag number 2. And so I was a little on edge on this, but I, sat down to him and with no judgment, I said, so I don't want you to have to fire me again too, because that's not good for you. So knowing that, it doesn't matter what you say, please tell me, why did you fire your previous attorney? And he said, well, he didn't communicate with me enough. Red flag number 3, if you've had clients who say you never communicate with me, and it's like, well, I emailed you this morning. But non-judgmental way, I said, please tell me more about that. And he did, and he talked about it. And I let him talk and I let him explain, and I said, so here's what I will tell you that I'm going to do. I am not going to call you proactively to tell you that nothing has happened on your case. I'm not going to call you for updates when I don't have anything that I need your input on. But 2 things. If you leave me a message, contact me, If you call me, I probably won't answer the phone, ever. It's just not what I do. I'm usually busy in doing things. But if you leave me a message, I will get back to you as soon as I can, usually within 24 hours. If you email me, same thing. However, you're hiring Palace Law, not just Jordan Couch. So if there's ever an emergency, call the front desk, say this is an emergency, and they will either find me or someone who can help you. Does that work for you? And he said yes. And despite this person firing his previous attorney twice for lack of communication and me not really changing my communication habits at all, he became one of my best clients, wrote great reviews about us, and had a great outcome for his case, and still reaches out to me sometimes just to say hey and see how I'm doing and refer some of his friends to us. So, empowering people with that culture to talk to you makes them feel heard and makes them know that they're okay. A lot of people are afraid to talk to their lawyer. The lawyer is the expert, and lawyers don't know that there's a problem in a case until a client is extremely unhappy and has already asked to fire them because they weren't listening. That doesn't happen with me, because if my clients have an issue, they call me and tell me right away because I have told them to. And I tell them I will never be mad if you call me and say you have a problem. I will be upset if you don't tell me and then you're just mad, because that just isn't good for you. It's not nice for you.
That's great. So so it's not just within the firm, but the way you approached it with your clients actually alleviates a lot of the client issues that a lot of people have. So it's not just this is like a warm and fuzzy law firm thing. This is a better way to run your firm. Yeah, and you guys just inside and out are things just are like you're hiring better people. The people who come there love what they're doing. They're treating your clients better. Your clients have the right expectations. And a lot of this comes from your culture and your values.
Yeah, identifying it, it doesn't matter what your culture and your values are. It's just about identifying it so that you can be transparent at every step of the way, because what loses people in a firm, what makes people unhappy is not knowing what they're getting into, having a lack of transparency. What makes clients unhappy is not knowing what to expect from their lawyer and not having the right expectations, and then not knowing what's going on and not feeling heard, not feeling like they're connected to the case. Whatever your values are, if you can define them and articulate them so that you can be transparent and have that be out there, just makes a world of difference in your relationships with people.
Love it. I think that's a great place to end. That is a good, solid statement there to close this out on. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. This has been awesome. And we'll post this extended part, which probably, the juiciest stuff here has been in like this part. So we got to really encourage people to get to YouTube and watch this. This was really good stuff. So thanks again, Jordan. People can find you at Jordan L. Couch, and we'll make sure that's posted in the comments and in the chat and everywhere else it needs to be. And we'll catch up next time, hopefully at a Clio conference or something.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always nice to see you.
All right. Take care, Jordan.
Bye.
Hey, what's up? I'm Josh. Thanks so much for joining us. If you feel like you learned something today, think of how beneficial it would be to chat with myself or another one of our marketing consultants one-on-one. Go ahead and visit our website to schedule your free consultation. It only takes a minute.